First off, congratulations to Hibbles on winning the Hearthstone beta key from last week's video. This week's prize is the Aurora Mount. If you'd like a chance to win this, please leave a comment in this video and be sure to be subscribed. Also give it a thumbs up, it always helps. Alright, let's get started. Now I want to start off by defining what a macro is. A macro is basically one button, such as down here, that I hit in order to do a list of actions. Now it can be anything from targeting somebody, it could be several attacks, it could be equipping PvP items or PvE items if you have two different sets and you want to switch between the two. There is a lot of things that you can do in a macro. But we're just going to focus on the combat macros, such as a list of attacks that we're going to do in order. Alright, so let's get started and open up the macros. Now I've got a lot of macros already pre-made. We're going to go down here and start a new one. The first thing you want to do is, of course, click on a blank spot, but then name your macro. Whatever would let you see exactly what the macro is about. It would probably be best, such as I got this as Warlord Builder here. That lets me know that it's my Warlord tree macros and this is my builder. This is my finisher. So whatever to make it easiest. We'll just call this one test. Okay, then we click down here and this is going to be the body of the macro here. Now, you can have the icon be whatever you like. You just left click it and there's a whole list of stuff that you can click on and it'll show up as that. However, we're going to use hashtag show space empowering strike. Okay, that's our main attack that we're going to have in this macro. So that's what I want to see. Whenever I look down, I want to know that that's the Empowering Strike macro. And it'll pop up with the right icon there whenever you type that, and it'll let you know that it's right. You didn't type it out wrong. Okay, the next line that we want to use is suppress macro failures. Now what this is going to do is sometimes whenever you're spamming the macro button over and over, you'll get error messages. And it's basically the system letting you know that it didn't keep up fully with what you were hitting. That's fine. Don't worry about that. We just really don't even want to see that that error message. So we're going to put suppress macro failures. And that doesn't mean, the error messages don't always mean that the macro is wrong. It could be just the system not keeping up. And we just don't want to see that altogether. Okay, the first ability that we're going to put on here, first attack, is King of the Hill. Now this is an instant attack with a cooldown of 15 seconds. The reason why we put this first is because it's one of our hard-hitting attacks. It hits for, 7,000 damage or more. So we want that to be the first attack. Because it's got a 15-second cooldown as well. That means that it's going to use this one first. And anytime it's on cooldown, the 15 seconds after we use it, it'll go down to the next one. But we want this one to be first. So we're going to cast King of the Hill. Alright. And this one, it does have a global cooldown. It'll say, bypasses global cooldown or whatever it is in the description if it doesn't have a global cooldown. And a global cooldown is, let's test it, is basically whenever you cast an ability or spell and it'll do like a clock ring on there, and that'll let you know that you can't use it again until that's up. So you hit it, see, we can't use the next ability until that's done. Some of them bypass that and allow you to use the next one right afterwards if it says does not have a global cooldown. Yeah, like right there. Instant, no global cooldown. That'll, anytime you hit that, you can hit the next ability right off the bat in your macro. And a lot of people like to put no global cooldown abilities at the top. That way they can just spam it and it'll hit a bunch of abilities all at once. But we're going through attacks and we don't really have too much of that right now. So the second one that we want to use is Decisive Strike. So cast Decisive Strike. Alright, the third one we want to use is cast a Quick Death. And we'll go through each one of them in a second. Now we want Empowering Strike. Well, cast. Empowering Strike. And the last one in our macro is going to be cast Shock Pulse. Alright. Let's go ahead and save that. Put it on our bar down here as test. Okay, let's go through every single skill or attack that we put on here so it's easy to understand. The first one has a 15-second cooldown. So and it's our hardest hitting of all of them, so we want that to be first. Well, that's what I want to be first. The second one has a 15-second cooldown as well, and it doesn't hit as hard, but it hits pretty hard as well. So that's going to be the second one, the second hardest hitting. The third one we got there has a pretty good hard hitting ability, but it's got a condition there. You see, it deals that damage to an enemy with under 30% health remaining. So that means that if they're not below 30% health, it will not use that ability. It will go down to the next one, which is in our line, a Quick Death and then Empowering Strike. So it'll use a hard hitting ability first, which will put that on a cooldown of 15 seconds. Then the next time we hit the button, it'll use Decisive Strike, which is another hard hitting ability, and put that on a 15-second cooldown. So the third time you hit it, these two will be on cooldown, and it'll try to use a Quick Death. If the person is not below 30% health, it won't use that. It'll go to the next one. So 3 abilities it'll go through, and then this one is very important, Empowering Strike. The reason for that is it hits pretty decent, but it does not have a cooldown. You see, it just requires a melee weapon, which means, you know, within range to hit them with a sword or whatever. But it does not have a cooldown. So if we put this at the top of our macro up here, it'll always use that ability because it's always available. These ones, once you use them, they go on a cooldown or the condition isn't met, so it won't use it, and unless the person is below 30% health. But we want it to use that because it hits pretty hard if they're below 30% health. But this one is always up, Empowering Strike. So if it's at top, it will never use these other abilities. So we want it below them abilities. They hit a lot harder. We want them to go first. We want Empowering Strike to be near last. Now, why do we put Shock Pulse at the end if this is going to be used all the time? It's because Empowering Strike, you have to be within melee range. You have to be within range to hit them with a sword. Now, Shock Pulse is a ranged attack. It hits pretty good, but it can hit whenever the guy is running away from you and you're not in range. So after you've used these abilities, or if he's just not in range, It'll bypass all these because they're not ranged abilities. At least I don't believe they are. Yeah, they're all melee. Okay. So the only ranged ability we have is Shock Pulse here. So if he gets out of range, it'll automatically start casting Shock Pulse because all the other ones aren't available. You're not within melee range. It's not going to cast them abilities. So that's your basic combat macro. There's a lot of stuff you can add to it, a lot of stuff you can take away, but you know, that's the basics of it. One thing I do want to really hammer into everybody's head is do not put break free into your macros. A lot of people do, and it's not good that you do that. The reason why they put it in there is because they want one button to spam, and if somebody CCs them or stuns them or whatever, they want to be able to break out as fast as possible so they can continue their attack. Sounds good in theory, but it's very flawed once you get into, you know, skilled PvP or anything else really. Because say this guy CCs you and then he just runs around a little bit and doesn't really affect you too much. You might just wait out the CC. That way your break free isn't down for the 1 minute 15-second cooldown. Now, what if he CCs you or stuns you or whatever, snares you, and he's about to kill you right then? Now, you want to be able to have that skill to break away and stun him or whatever you need to do in order to not die. You want that to be an ability that's up for whenever you need it. Not for whenever it's just convenient, you know. You're chasing somebody around, they stun you for a couple seconds, wait it out, you know, unless you're about to kill them right that second. What if they're at full life and they stun you? Do you want break free to go off right then? You're not going to kill them that instant. What if they CC you once you are about to kill them and you don't have it up because you used it at the very beginning? Yeah, do not put break free into your macros, guys. Do not do it. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please hit the subscribe button if you want to see more. Go ahead and leave me a comment if you think I stuttered too much, if I didn't explain something well. Yeah, and be sure to view upcoming videos and leave comments and likes in order to win free stuff. Alright guys, see you guys in the next video.